I never imagined guilt could feel so heavy that even the air in my lungs refused to move. But that night as I stood in the hotel room, barefoot, wrapped in nothing but silence and shame, I felt it pressing down on me. The dim yellow lamp lit the corner of the room, my phone buzzed once on the nightstand, and when I turned toward the window, I froze. Because through the thin slit of the curtain, I saw him, my husband, Daniel, standing outside in the rain, motionless. His hair plastered to his forehead, his white shirt soaked through. He wasn't shouting. He wasn't moving. He was just watching, eyes fixed on the hotel room where his wife, me, stood on the other side of the glass. And for the first time in our marriage, I realized silence could scream louder than any words. 3 hours earlier. "Don't stay out too late," Daniel had said, leaning in to kiss me before I left the house that evening. His lips were warm, gentle, the same warmth I'd once craved, though lately, I'd been telling myself it wasn't enough. "It's just a team dinner," I'd said, forcing a smile. "I'll probably be home by 10. He smiled, that same tired, patient smile he always wore when I brushed him off. He didn't question me. He never did. Maybe that's what made it so easy to lie. When I walked into the hotel lounge 2 hours later, Ethan was already waiting. Crisp shirt, half smirk, glass of wine in hand. My manager. My mistake. I told myself we were just meeting to talk about the new client pitch, but deep down, I knew what I was really walking into. The glances, the messages, the late-night calls, everything had been building toward this moment. And yet, as soon as I saw him, I felt something hollow inside me. Guilt, maybe. Or the slow, creeping realization that I was about to cross a line I could never uncross. Inside the room. By the time Ethan closed the door behind us, the city outside was drowned in rain. The air conditioner hummed, and my heart raced like I was about to commit a crime. He placed his hands on my shoulders. "You're shaking," he whispered. "I shouldn't be here," I said softly. "Then why are you?" I didn't have an answer. Maybe because Daniel and I had been distant for months. Maybe because routine had replaced passion. Maybe because I wanted to feel wanted again. But as Ethan leaned in, all those reasons felt like excuses whispered into a void. His lips touched mine, and for a fleeting moment, I tried to pretend it was enough, that I could drown my emptiness in someone else's warmth. It wasn't. When I pulled away, Ethan laughed under his breath. "You're thinking about him, aren't you?" "I know," I lied, looking at the floor. He sighed, sat down, and poured another glass of wine. "You don't belong in that marriage, Claire. You're not happy. You told me yourself." He wasn't wrong. But he didn't understand what I had with Daniel. The history, the quiet loyalty, the way he'd always believed in me even when I didn't. I turned toward the window, needing air, and that's when I saw him. Outside the glass. At first I thought my mind was playing tricks on me. The rain distorted everything. Streetlights shimmered in puddles, reflections wavered on the glass. But when lightning flashed, I saw his face clearly. Daniel. No umbrella. No coat. Just standing there, staring up at the hotel window. My breath caught. The glass of wine in my hand slipped, shattering across the carpet. "Claire," Ethan said, startled. "What's wrong?" I couldn't speak. Couldn't even move. I just stood there, gripping the curtain, staring down at the man who'd shared 10 years of my life, the man I'd sworn to be faithful to, as he looked right back at me with eyes that held no anger, no shock. Only quiet devastation. He didn't storm in. He didn't call. He just turned and walked away. The drive home. I don't remember what I said to Ethan when I left. Maybe nothing. Maybe too much. The rain fell harder as I drove, the sound hammering against the windshield like punishment. I tried calling Daniel 5 times, then 10. Straight to voicemail every time. When I reached our driveway, his car was there, parked crookedly. The porch light was still on. The front door unlocked. Inside, the house felt hollow. The faint smell of his cologne hung in the air, mingled with the sharp sting of wet clothes. His shoes were by the door, one toppled on its side. "Daniel!" My voice cracked. No answer. I followed the faint creak of the floorboards to the kitchen. The dining table was littered with envelopes, bank statements, photos, receipts, all spread out like evidence. And then I saw it. A single printed hotel receipt. Room 217. Name. He must have known long before tonight. A letter. On the table lay a folded piece of paper, damp around the edges where raindrops had smudged the ink. I picked it up with shaking hands and began to read. Claire. I saw it long before I saw you tonight. Distance. The way your laughter changed. The way you'd smile at your phone, then turn it face down when I walked in. I wanted to believe it was work stress or that you just needed space. But when I saw the hotel charge last week, I knew. I just didn't want to believe it until I saw it with my own eyes. And I did. I don't hate you. Not yet. But I don't recognize you either. The woman I married wouldn't have looked at me like I was a stranger in my own home. You've been gone for a while now. I just didn't realize until tonight that you weren't coming back. Take whatever you need from the house. I'll be staying at my brother's for now. We'll talk when you're ready to be honest. Not to fix things but to end them properly. Goodbye, Claire. Daniel. The words blurred through my tears. I sank into the chair, pressing the letter to my chest as if I could undo what I'd done. But the truth was simple. He had been there the whole time trying to hold on, and I'd been the one letting go. The days after, he didn't answer my calls, didn't reply to messages. His brother told me he needed time. I didn't blame him. The house felt too big, too quiet. Every room echoed with memory. The smell of his coffee in the morning, the way he'd hum under his breath while fixing things around the house. I started sleeping on the couch, not because the bed was uncomfortable, but because I couldn't stand lying where his side was cold and empty. I replayed that moment at the hotel over and over. The rain, the glass, his eyes. How he hadn't yelled, hadn't accused, hadn't demanded. He'd simply seen me, and that was enough to shatter everything. I used to think betrayal was about being caught. Now I know it's about watching someone realize you were never who they thought you were. 2 weeks later, when he finally called, my heart stopped. Claire, his voice said, flat and tired. We need to talk. He came by that evening, standing in the doorway like a stranger. His hair was shorter, his face unshaven. He didn't come inside right away. I don't want to fight, he said. I just want closure. I nodded, unable to meet his eyes. I don't have excuses, Daniel. Only regret. He laughed bitterly. Regret doesn't change what I saw. I know. Silence hung between us. Rain started again outside, light and steady. He finally stepped in, just far enough that I could see the ache behind his calm. Do you love him? He asked. No, my voice trembled. It wasn't about love. It was about feeling noticed. I felt invisible, Daniel. You were always working, always tired. So you cheated because I was tired, he cut in, voice breaking. Because I was trying to keep a roof over our heads. Tears spilled down my cheeks. I don't know. I was lonely, and I made the worst mistake of my life. He closed his eyes, exhaling slowly. I loved you enough to forgive distance, coldness, even indifference. But not this. You turned something sacred into something disposable. I didn't mean to. Everyone who betrays says that, he whispered. You just didn't think you'd get caught. That hurt because it was true. He turned to leave but stopped at the door. I stood in the rain that night, Claire, hoping you'd see me and stop. I thought maybe seeing me there would make you remember what we had. But you didn't even look guilty until I walked away. He didn't wait for a reply. He just left. And with that, the sound of the door closing felt like a final heartbeat between us. Why epilogue? It's been 6 months since that night. The house is sold. Daniel moved to another city, started over. I still see him sometimes. In memories, in dreams, in the reflection of rain on glass. Sometimes I drive past that hotel and park across the street, staring at the window where everything ended. The same window where I once saw the man I loved standing in the rain, watching the last pieces of his trust fall apart. I thought I was alone that night. But the truth is, I was never more seen in my entire life. And I will spend the rest of my days haunted by the look in his eyes, not of anger, but of heartbreak deeper than words could ever reach.